I think what I've learnt and what is keeping me on top of things currently, don't live in hope that things will get better. And that's not a, dramatic negative comment. That's really just adapt to the current landscape.
Hey everybody, thank you for being with me on another episode of Dirty Linen. Are you ready to hear about the food world? I always am, always hungry for a bit of that. One thing that we love on Dirty Linen is a return guest, and that's what we are bringing you today. It was December 2024 when we chatted to Marco Finanzio from Umberto Group in Thornbury in Melbourne, a suburb that over 15 years he helped shape and change with his restaurants Umberto and a bunch of others. A few months after we spoke in April of 2025, Marco reached out to his community through an email and just really brought people into the struggles of being a small business person in hospitality. I think the main message of the email was, I'm tired. I'm tired. This is why. I'm doing this for all the right reasons. I want to look after you, but it's a lot. He had an outpouring of warmth and understanding and empathy from his community. Then the months rolled on, and about a year later, there was another email talking about the way that the business has changed over the ensuing months. Marco knows more about all of this than I do. I hope I've summarised it effectively, but welcome back to Dirty Linen.
Thank you, Dani. Thanks for having me again. It's an absolute delight.
Yeah, well, the delight is mine. Have I, precede your journey, in adequate fashion?
Absolutely. I think the simpler version is a lot easier to digest, if anything. You're obviously the podcast called Deep in the Weeds, and that's what I felt like at times, and especially the time when I decided to kind of pour all that out and do a bit of Tolstoy's War and Peace. And it felt like that, but it was also a really positive experience all in all, because the true motivation behind it was simply just sharing, and wasn't asking for any kind of patronage support. It was just more about explaining to my community what was actually happening, and some reasons why maybe I wasn't present in the business because of, I'm a dad with, a beautiful wife and two kids in primary school, and just really like logistical issues that maybe they were expecting me to be front and center all the time, and I couldn't possibly humanly do that.
I think it's so hard in small business where you do want to be there. You've created the business from your own passion and heart and backstory, but then, of course, the success of the business really relies on you being able to transmit that energy and backstory to staff and hand it over. You can't be in your business every minute that it's open, and it's it's such a tricky balance, isn't it, between giving your customers what you think they want or what they tell you they want, but also preserving yourself as a business owner and a human.
It's a total catch-22, yeah. And we've made a rod for our own back, because our strength is our story. Our strength is how we make people feel when they dine with us. And we do a lot of functions in our venues, and part of that is they know they're going to get looked after. They know that we understand how important family is, and that connection to special occasions. And our daily purpose is to bring people together. We're not top of the town, a big group backed with partners. We're a small high street family business that does its best to serve and prepare genuine food that everything has its history and place in my upbringing. But I've got got Dad's name on the front door. His experience through coffee in Melbourne is undeniable, and I've got to fill his shoes, and that's tough at times, and I don't want to be the centre of attention, but I really love what I do, and people are always asking about him, and that's a real privilege, right? It's really wonderful. So yeah, when I'm not there because I'm taking my daughter to gymnastics, or when I'm, making sure that I'm taking the leadership team out to have a staff review, or, things like that, just to keep things moving. Obviously people come to see the faces and be involved with the story. That can be disappointing for customers at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to be a different person to the guy that opened the business and was pretty much chained to the coffee machine. If you're not able to step into a different role, then you can't grow, can you?
Correct. Yeah, and I think the kind of the two bookends of those two emails and comms to our really strong and loyal database is just that. It's a bit of coming of age. It's, I personally went through a period where there was opportunity in High Street to open a second venue. And, then that grows and that becomes hugely successful. And then the next step is, okay, well, what's next? It's not motivated by, or not in my personal experience, it wasn't motivated by money or just doing things that I really were passionate about doing. But I would be lying if I was to say that there wasn't any ego involved in that either. And then that's part of the hospitality industry, whether that's right or wrong. It feels good to be liked and your venues visited and all of those things. So yeah, I think throughout the last 15 years, it's been a lot of that, and becoming a dad, and having to shift focus, and then having it all kind of challenged in really tough environments economically and globally. It's just a bit like, well, I've had to say goodbye to a lot of those businesses, and now I've landed in a place where I'm so happy and thankful that I still have my house, I still have a beautiful business, and a family that's super strong and stronger than ever. And that's I think it's a bit of a coming of age story, if you want to label it as something, but it's just a good reflection of having to adapt and evolve as a hospitality owner, who is literally quite isolated, being the owner. Carla, my wife, is there every day doing a tremendous job in supporting not only the business and customers, but myself as well, and keeping it all together.
Marco, tell us of the arc of what's happened over the past year, and take us into that ego journey as well.
Yeah, it's pretty humbling to admit, to be honest. I've never been wanting to be the center of attention, but you kind of are made to be that if your business is the story about you. And that was maybe a little bit of an accident. I didn't go into it with that intention, but essentially that's been challenging for me personally, because I am an introvert, but I also super creative, and I really love creating these spaces for people to come and enjoy. And if maybe that was a bit more obvious in the brochure going into hospitality, maybe I would have second thoughts. But you find that out as you go, and things don't stay the same. Things do change. Our menus evolved. Who we hire has evolved. How I operate has evolved and adapted, and don't always get it right. But Umberto started as a hole in the wall. Me escaping the finance industry, which I wasn't passionate about, and grown up in hospitality, but he had decided to throw that all the way and come into a beautiful industry that keeps giving. It convinced Dad to come out of his retirement to help me along, and all of a sudden from a few I think we were doing just panini at that stage back in 2010, and then there was demand for some cooked food, and we just started rolling out pastas in a 40-seat restaurant. It was a cafe. We were just first described as one of the best 30 cafes in Melbourne. There's an article about us many moons ago, when almost before the internet. And it was it was awesome. So we just kept kind of bolting on different offerings. And here we are. We're a genuine pasta bar in a bigger building. And now we know who we are, and there's almost like a glut of venues in the street at a time where we just felt like, hey, you know what? Let's shut down Joni's Barretto. It's had a great 12 years. Finish when you're on top. Um, and people still asking about it, still sad about it not being around. But honestly, I couldn't manage it all. Being one or two people, and that was challenging. So other things were slipping, and that's the honest truth. It's like I took my eye off the ball. Thought I could do it all. Had structures in place that weren't really working, or was essentially losing. I don't know, the soul or the story of what Umberto's began as and set out to achieve. And yeah, that's really challenging. That's a big kick to the ego, right? When people are saying, oh, you're not what you used to be. And I don't know how many operators admit that, right? I think it's the purpose of contacting my customers and followers was just to say, hey, we're not perfect. I'll put my hand up and own the responsibility and accountability around that. But here are the things that I want to do, because this has happened for many reasons, but this is how it's affecting me and how what I'm going to do about to fix it. And yeah, we're in a good place now. We're really, to get back to your earlier question about the arc, within that, we also had a business called Pastificio Sandro, which I was very excited about, but no one else was. And that was that's the honest truth, and that hurts the ego a lot as well. During my I'm really lucky to have a wonderful family who are super supportive. And my brother said to me, he said, "It's okay, mate. Don't stress." And he used an analogy which I found quite comical, but really relevant. And I'm not trying to liken myself to a huge rock band, but that first album that someone puts down and tours the world on, everyone loves. The second album's pretty much the same, and the third album's like this experimental thing that no one really likes, but the artist likes. And everyone compares them to what their first album was, and you kind of, when you're doing it, you're in it so deep, you're in it so close, so you think that is what everyone will like, and it actually turned out that it wasn't, and that's okay to admit, right?
I think the difference with a third album and a third restaurant, or third or fourth, whichever business it was, is that you don't have to keep reinvesting in an album. You draw a line under it. You don't have to keep spending money on it. Whereas a pasta bar that's on it, it's got a shop frontage, it's got staff, it's got goods that keeps costing you money, doesn't it?
Yeah, and lots of lessons as well, which, I'm a very positive person. So, as difficult as it is to kind of, swallow and move on from, all of those trials and tribulations will guide me going forward in a really tough environment. But there's lots of failures around, but it's about what you take from them and how you use them going forward.
Tell me about selling the building where Umberto's is.
Yeah, that was huge. Cash flow pressure is immense for lots of businesses. Anytime really, and you've got to be on top of that for obvious reasons. It will build incredibly, and that will happen particularly in July 1 when there's same day super coming up. We, through my lessons and my mistakes of past, over capitalizing on new businesses and ventures, I've started doing weekly superannuation payments back in March. So we're used to that now, and I really highly recommend everyone get onto that as quickly as possible to live in that world before it becomes law. July 1. It was actually just a huge weight to have to repay the bank back every month, with the installments. And we purchased the building, it would be about 8 years ago. So pre-COVID, everything was great. You kind of set up an interest-only arrangement. Cash flow is great. And then the rest is kind of history. So amongst inflationary pressures of, staff and goods and services and fuel surcharges, the list goes on, right? There was also this huge elephant in the room. It's like, we can't afford to keep this building. So yeah, that it was a huge achievement to purchase and renovate and build it to our specifications. It's a 3-level institution in High Street, and will be around forever. And we did it in a way that respected our surroundings and our environment, and celebrated the history of Thornbury. And yeah, I'm super proud of that. But effectively handing the keys over to a landlord, we chose a landlord well. We wanted that person to understand what this building means to the area. We've got a 20-year lease. When the property settled, we paid some debts down, and that was a huge relief. But it was all about mental health and the strain. And we've all heard unfortunate stories of people just doing it really tough because of financial pressures in every life. So yeah, that was my main concern, and my family's main concern was, hey, this is not necessary. There is a way out. And before it all goes too pear-shaped, we just streamlined, and now we've got effectively just Umberto's and Gigi Rooftop, and now we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, and it's all good.
Oh, it's such a journey. Yeah, like what was? Tell me about some of the emotions around it.
We're pretty good at not taking work home, Carla and I, and we just felt that during the worst time of that financial strain, when covers were dropping, or we're unwinding other parts of the group and closing the other businesses, that takes a lot of time and effort, and then you've got all these bills to pay at the end of the week. We started seeing that it was being spoken about at home. Yeah, it was, mental health was an issue. It really was, and I've worked really hard on that. And yeah, super proud of where I've come to. So again, I'll say this again, because it's, I feel really lucky that I do have the support of a wonderful family, mum and dad and Carla's parents, and not financial support, but hey, keeping me on track. At the end of the day, understanding what it's all for and what it's worth can get a little bit clouded when you're in a dynamic industry that gives you a lot, personally and professionally. But yeah, at the end of the day, your health's number one, and we all say it all the time. You do need to look after that, physical and mental, and that's basically what made the decision.
Yeah, there's so many threads that we could pick up on. But I'd love to talk about the reason that you're doing it. When you strip things away and you sort of refocus, what is it that you find there? Like, what is the mission?
I think the mission is clearly, I've got a really great knack of creating a space, an environment that brings people together to have their friends and family around, and help them celebrate whatever that is, friendships or birthdays, or just to catch up. I think one of our huge strengths is the sum of all of its parts. The atmosphere, the warm and friendly service, the food, the beverage, the location. When we're kind of mentioned in every real estate's bio is home of Umberto, the northern suburbs, all of that stuff. That's really wonderful to be a part of and be an anchor for this area. So I'm really proud of that. And there's a lot of ownership with our customers, in terms of they feel like they are a genuine part of who we are, and that fills my heart. And that's that constant affirmation that, hey, and that's ego driven as well, right? Let's be straight about that. But it's a good part of the ego. It makes you feel like you're contributing. It makes me feel like we've got lots of community initiatives, and they don't change the world, but what they make High Street is just a nice place to be, and everyone's safe and welcome. So that's the simple drivers that get me up in the morning. In addition to that, Dani, we've got a really great team of 30 odd people who come from all walks of life, who have their own challenges and their own stresses. And I kind of, in my lofty goals of one day retiring, would love to mentor, spend my time mentoring young people. And then I had this light bulb moment, and like, they're actually right in front of me. I don't need to wait till retirement. So they're there. I need to be a positive force in their work lives. And not all of them are career hospo. We've managed to secure some excellent career hospo as well, who understand that they're over the kind of maybe dysfunctional kitchens of the past in a bygone era, and they just want stability, and they want people and a business to work for that it's going to be around for a long time, who values the things that I value and Carla values. So yeah, that's super invigorating on a daily basis.
Yeah, one thing I recall from our chat on the podcast previously was the journey that you map out and continue to update for your staff, that they're not just a roster. They're this idea that they are a person who has their own goals. I mean, it must be really hard to lead your team through the changes, the ups and downs, and to be the person you want to be for them while you're also struggling yourself. How have you navigated that?
Yeah, that's taken a lot of effort. I think my natural reaction was to maybe wrongly in the past say, "Hey, you think you've got it bad? I've got it worse," kind of deal. And I've done a lot of growing from that. And it's not fair on anyone to take on other people's stresses and pressures. And so sucking that up, having outlets for that, whether that be a peer network that you can kind of swap war stories with, having a support network in family and friends that will sit and listen to you. That's the place for those things. But when you're leading a team of young, impressionable people, it's you've got to cut that aside, and we do that in a way of making sure that their focus is when they're at work, they're at work. We don't mess around with that. But what else do you want from work? And really focusing on helping them succeed in not only their paid work with us, but it's also skill development for what they eventually want to do in their own careers or pursuits. And so confidence building is one thing, positivity is one thing, creating a space where they feel like they're achieving, and that's why the review process is important. And sometimes people will roll their eyes at a business our size is doing that, but I think it all adds up to just creating a space where people are genuinely have a purpose, and they're not just watching the clock. They're actually, trying to develop and grow personally and professionally. So yeah, I like to champion that. As often as I can, but the formal side of that is revisited a lot. We've actually done some recent work with a consultant to refresh that and adapt that to the types of people who are coming through at that age now, because that's changed a lot as well, and what pressures they're under, and just being aware of that is super important.
I just love it so much. I mean, can you give me any examples of the kinds of pathways that you create, or little turning points that you're able to create for people?
We do a fortnightly training, but during that training, it's not just product driven. It's a lot of it's about bringing their own experiences during that fortnight to the table and sharing that and building trust with each other. One of our team members is a creative, and he's budding filmmaker, and has done some really good things lately, and he's really good for us as a front of house team member as well. So we gave him about 4 to 6 weeks off some time ago to go and do that, and it's like, mate, your position's safe with us. Come back and let us know all about that. So the whole team shared that success. When you're really relying on good staff to execute our food and drink and our service well, losing them is a bit of a pain in the schedule, but we happily took that on. And if you're going to preach it, you really want to you really want to deliver. And he's back and he's in the editing phase, and earning his keep to pay for the release of that film. And so all of that makes me pretty pumped. Being able to really support those pursuits.
You mentioned, or you alluded to, other staff members that have, been through in the trenches in hospitality, perhaps in some workplaces that didn't pay the same attention to supporting the whole human. What else do you do, or would you like to do to, I guess, change the reputation that hospitality has in some quarters?
I think respecting all the cogs, everyone in the process, from farmers through to customers. I think, there's a lot of talk in the industry about, how they do one thing really well, but then behind closed doors, there's, people not being paid their superannuation, or suppliers getting shafted through people knowing they're going to close down and ordering up, and inflating the account without any intention to repay them. Like, these are really horrible stories that seem to be coming up, and everyone's under pressures. We get that, but really coming good on your responsibilities. We live that in every single asset, and I've gone without to make sure that I come good on all of those. It's an exchange. They're the fundamentals that make things tick, and you've got to do that best practice. You can't cut corners on that, and I can safely say that we've been doing that for a long time. And those who say they are and aren't, that's not good for the whole industry, and that can be disappointing. But I choose not to focus on that. I choose to really put all my energies on what we can control as a group, and just come through with what you say you want to do.
Yeah, I think a theme to this conversation is accountability. Like, I feel like, you've said you want to be accountable for your own emotions and energy, and, send the hard conversations perhaps, sideways or up rather than down to your team. And then, there's sort of accountability to suppliers. But also to your community, in this these raw emails to your community sent in trust. It seems to me, it's this willingness to accept that perhaps not everyone's experience has been all you might want it to be, but you'll wear that, and this is perhaps one of the reasons why, and this is what you've done about it. I mean, as you said, there's so much growth in that. It's pretty powerful stuff, Marco.
Yeah, thank you. That's just who we are. It's there's a lot of manipulation in social media around everything being perfect, and we all know the dangers of that. But people have that in their own jobs outside of hospitality. Things aren't all rosy. I think there's a lot of benefit in being vulnerable and sharing, and sharing with the right people. Our customers get who we are. That's why we're still around 16 years strong. And the other side to that is, how can we help them? They've helped us, and you stand there and you listen to people's trials and tribulations, and there's a lot of trust in that too. So, one of my biggest frustrations is just not fulfilling what you say you're going to do. If you're gonna say you do certain things in a certain way, do the whole thing. Come good on it. Otherwise, it falls apart. I think people are pretty cluey. They'll see through it anyway. And just being genuine is that's how I live my life, and that's my code. So my business, Carla's business, represents that in everything we do. We can't choose and cherry pick what's going to have best financial impact, or what's going to be easiest, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about that guy that opened the business, with your dad, and with, the family meatball recipe 16 years ago, and, you reflect on the journey and who you are now, like, what do you think What have you gained from this journey?
I think being very open to learning from others has been good. You talk about the pulpet there. Literally yesterday we had our wonderful new chef Jason jump off the 86 tram from Fitzroy, and he had this woman with him, with a little shopping trolley, and she had pine mushrooms she just foraged, and it was like the most exciting thing that had happened all week. And she really sold us to them. It's in a risotto tonight. It's just like, this is exciting for me. And being surrounded by people of Jason's caliber in particular, I don't know, isolate them because we've got lots of great people. That excites me. And it's not an area that maybe, I've been too familiar with, to be honest. But it's like, how do I support that? How do I keep celebrating that? Because that's what excites us when we're sitting down in front of that risotto. That is, with people that we love and friends and everything. It's just like, wow, that's where we want to be, and that's we're bringing all of those things together as a venue owner. Is pretty cool.
So how do you forage pine mushrooms like on the 86? Is it like, did he smell them coming out of the trolley? Like, how did this occur?
They were visible through the containers. And a good forager doesn't reveal their locations. So
Oh, that's so classic. I love it. So, Marco, next time I come in, if there's a pine mushroom risotto, I'm definitely having that. But what else would you suggest that I order?
We've got, we're a pasta bar through and through. That's who we've evolved to be. We do all our pasta handmade. We've got something that's talking about adapting to what's happening in the wider world. We've got a $25 pasta and vino night on a Tuesday, and that is heaving. It's about 6 weeks in, and we are heaving, and that changes regularly. So anything from that menu, Dani, cavatelli, bucatini, salsiccia, gnocchi puttanesca. Like, there's a lot of yummy stuff.
Oh my goodness! Like, one of everything, please. Marco, as you mentioned, you left being an accountant to plunge into hospitality, and it's no doubt those skills have stood you, or they've been crucial along the way, but haven't kept you out of every pothole. I hear so many stories, and no doubt you do as well, from people in hospitality who are saying these times are particularly tough. What kind of advice do you have for them?
I think what I've learnt, and what is keeping me on top of things currently, don't live in hope that things will get better. And that's not a dramatic negative comment. That's really just adapt to the current landscape. And things will get better. Things will turn around. It's not the first, inflationary environment. It's not the first global, war. There's a lot of stuff going on. It will get better. It has. History's proven that. But when it does, that should be the bonus. That should be the cream. Learn to live in this landscape. Because if you start hoping and waiting, you actually will not thrive. You'll be asking some serious questions about, how to kind of wind things up, unfortunately, and being on top of your cogs is at the end of the day, and your labour and being smart about how your offering is designed is essential to adapting and evolving and surviving. And they're presenting good challenges, right? It's if everything was easy, we wouldn't be in it. Hospitality is the biggest example of that. There's a lot of easy ways to make a living, that's for sure. But yeah, it's important to know that those challenges are good, because they, if you come back to seasonality, like, that's the cheapest and the best produce. Why are we doing other things? And that's your kind of beacon. Then you've got to do that in every area of your business. Make it work. Find ways. And there's plenty of people we all swap notes. Operators do swap notes. We do hang out. You need to listen to your customers as well, and find that medium that works for your offering. So yeah.
Love it. So yeah, I'm just thinking about this third album analogy and wondering, is it about playing the greatest hits or doing the fourth album or remixing? Maybe all of the above.
We could have some fun. Collabs are a great example.
Yes, true.
It's all those things. Yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had with that. But it's a nice way to put some light on things or keep things light when they're big things. And I think what we're doing, what I tried to communicate to our lovely people is that coming back to purpose. So maybe it is the greatest hits that we roll out again. And give people what they want in the right way that makes sense and stacks up for our business. And, I'm a big fan of lots of greatest hits albums. The Immaculate Collection, Madonna comes to mind. There's a lot of good greatest hits albums out there. So, doing you your way and reminding people why they come to you is a great way to do that.
Well, Marco, thanks for doing you your way and for being so honest and trusting and accountable. It's it's all the good things, and I think it adds up to some very genuine hospitality. So I cannot wait to immerse myself in it in the not too distant future. Thanks so much for being a return guest on Dirty Linens. Always really lovely to chat with you.
Oh, thank you for acknowledging it all and giving me your time, Dani. Appreciate it.
This is Dirty Linen. I'm Dani Valent. We bring you untold stories from the food world. Real, raw, unafraid, hopeful. We're driven by a belief that food provides endless opportunities for learning, connecting, and creating the world we want to live in. Delicious, open-hearted, meaningful. If you know a story that needs telling, get in touch. Write to dirtyLinen@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thank you for listening.
This is a Deep in the Weeds production.